This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now, from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour being brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, boat, motorcycle, RV, Medicare products. Open enrollment starts October 15th through December 7th. They'll do everything they can to save you money. They'll do everything they can to make sure you're fully insured, because customer service means everything to them. All at Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Saturday, I'd drive around a little bit, and I had a good long listen to Oregon State, and the guy that did the play-by-play and did just a fabulous job, which is typical of the great career he's had. That's Jerry Allen. Jerry, welcome to the show. Great to have you back.
Hey, it's good to be with you. Thanks for having me. I almost took this week off vacation-wise, and I realized there's a big game on the schedule, so I probably should stay and go to the game.
Well, probably. What were the original plans? I'm just kidding. Look, Oregon is a team that is, we all know, is very talented. But like everybody, there's a turnover and a changeover. For Dante Moore, what did it actually mean that he was able to play behind Dillon Gabriel last year, and what had been the payoff to the early part of the season because he did?
Well, it speaks to the kind of person that he is and the resolve that he has to understand where he is in his football career. He had a tough time, a bad time at UCLA. A true freshman, got thrown in, didn't really have everything in place around him to support him and help him, and so it was bad, and social media tore him up, and he fought his way through that. And when that was done, he realized, I need to go back where I said I was going to go. I should have gone there. I'm going to go to Oregon, and he knew that Dillon Gabriel was there following Bo Nix, but he said, I knew I wasn't there yet. I just hadn't learned enough. I saw my mistakes that I made when I was at UCLA, and I needed to correct those. So Will Stein told me, Oregon's offensive coordinator, he never once last year said, hey, when can I play? Can I go in? He just wanted to sit and learn and become a better quarterback off of the mistakes he made his true freshman year. And so that's tough for a kid to do, who's already been a starter at a big-time program, to say, okay, I'm willing to sit until my time's ready.
If you've talked to Dante, has he told you the game seems a little slower to him now than when he was at UCLA and had the turnover problems?
Yeah, he definitely did. He say he's more aware of what goes on in front of him, and he said he credits a lot of that to Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel taught him so much about the position of quarterback beyond just learning the book, but how to relax, how not to move your feet, how to trust in your skills and trust in the guys around you. So, yeah, he totally understood that he had some things he had to correct and was willing to be coached not only by Will Stein but by Dillon Gabriel.
Kenyon Sadiq had 2 touchdown catches last year against Penn State. Ferguson was the starting tight end, but Sadiq had a terrific game. Where has he developed? Because I think, Jerry, he's become one of the top 5 tight ends in college football.
Yeah, he's on a lot of people's freak list. He's well built. He's got top speed, great hands, and probably the thing that he enjoys the most and takes a lot of pride in, and that is blocking. And that's not easy, for guys who want the ball in their hands to focus on. So he is the complete package. He can run great routes. Once he gets the ball in his hands, yards after catch are pretty good. But his ability to block and help his teammates downfield may be one of his biggest strengths. And he's he didn't bloom until that Penn State game last year. I mean, we didn't really know who he was. A lot of that was because of Tiefer, and so Sadiq didn't get his opportunity. But that game sort of clicked in his head, and he realized, oh, okay, this is my game. I can do this.
2 outstanding tackles last year that moved on to the NFL. How has Dan felt about his tackle play to this point? And let's face it, 12,023 at Northwestern is not going to give you any idea of noise.
No, although I tell you what, they put huge speakers right behind the home bench, and they crank them up to 100 or 100 plus. And we couldn't use our sideline guy because it was so loud over there. Every time we turned his mic on, it would just blow us off the air. So, but they practice with noise, and you're right. There's no way you're going to, give yourself the real feeling of what that noise is. 3 years ago, some of these guys played at Ohio State in the shoe, and that was pretty raucous and definitely a home field advantage. But Dan Lanning has his guys mentally prepared, I think, and the biggest question will be, can they be on the same page? They're not going to be able to vocally, get signals in. They're going to have to know what each other are doing, look to the sideline, get those plays, and they're going to have to do it in a timely manner. There's no doubt the noise disruption. We've seen it here at Autzen Stadium. The teams come in. It's only 60,000, but it's a weird configuration at Autzen, and the noise level is just crazy. It'll be a step up there, but they practice with it. They know what it's going to be like, and they just hope they can execute.
Right. No, there's no question about that. Big-time programs like Oregon always are going to get the best from the crowd anyway, and we all know that. When you look at the defense, Tiedemann comes in safety from Purdue. What has he done in that secondary as a veteran that's been around the conference? How much has he helped?
Well, he's helped a ton because of his leadership. I mean, he's a veteran, and the Ducks have a freshman, couple of redshirt freshmen, some young guys in that secondary. And Dan Lanning has said, if you're good enough, you're old enough, doesn't matter what age you are, if you can play. But they don't have the experience, the game experience. That's what Tiedemann brought in. He gets guys positioned. He sees flaws. If he sees something that's not right, he corrects it. He's just a real veteran, and then he's a player. He can play the game at a very high level. He's got a high football IQ, and that leadership in that back end really helps what has been a fairly young, inexperienced defensive secondary for Oregon.
What's the travel plan? Everybody does this differently. When Penn State went out to the coast last year, and it's going to be the same story this year, they left on Thursday, played on Saturday. Indiana's a team that Kurt Cignetti leads at 4 o'clock on Friday, and it doesn't matter whether you're playing in Thailand or you're playing at Rutgers. He leaves at 4 o'clock on Friday. Okay, it doesn't matter. What's the Oregon plan that they have developed to go east?
Well, they try to keep it pretty much on West Coast time. It's only one day. Now, when they went to Northwestern, school's not in session. It doesn't start here till next week. So They have the luxury of practicing early. And so when they went to Northwestern, they left on Thursday because it was such an early game. It was 11 o'clock Central, and so that was 9 o'clock here, which is when Oregon practices in the morning. Now, the Penn State game is at night, so we're going to leave on Friday, get in there in the evening, get a good night's sleep, meetings, get up the next day, and play football. So it's, when they try to stay pretty much on West Coast time, it doesn't affect them. Now, basketball, baseball, they deal with that a little differently because of the time zones, but football shouldn't affect them.
Right. No, I think it was. But everybody it's just interesting to see what everybody's plan is. Because, I mean, that's why, like UCLA, they came in here on Friday last year. Okay. And I know you guys are staying down in Altoona, which is about 45 miles away. So I'm always just curious because I know what Penn State does, and now you want to see what somebody else does. So, all right. So when I look at the defense, Betcher, the linebacker, and Mixon, the other kid, really talented. Jack Ham is really impressed with Betcher. What has made him a special part of what they want to do defensively?
It's his aggressiveness, and he's learned how to use that aggressiveness the right way, not overplay. I think early in his career, I mean, he's a Golden Glove baseball player, and so he's got good speed, good instincts. But when he came in as a freshman, and they talked about this last week, in practice, even his redshirt freshman year at linebacker, he'd hit everybody. He didn't care except for the quarterback. He said, I never hit the quarterback. But Oregon's star running back, Bucky, got hit. The tight ends got hit. The wide receivers got hit. He just blew people up. And the coaches were always telling him, okay, you can't do that, run laps. So he'd go run laps and come back, and he'd do it again. So he said, I never worried about running laps. I just wanted to hit people. So it's kind of an attitude that he has. And when he first few years, he didn't have control of that. Now he's got control of it. He sees the field better. He's a veteran. He understands. And a lot of game study, film study, helps him prepare for what he wants to do. But he's just got an attitude. He just wants to hit somebody.
What has Bear Alexander's addition meant up front?
A veteran. One of those guys that learn to communicate right away. You bring young guys in, or guys that don't have a lot of experience. Sometimes the communication is not good, but he's big, he's agile, and the communication he has along that defensive front really, really is big.
Yeah, this is a great program. Oregon is a great program. This will be the first time, though, they've ever come in here. They've got to take care of the game. It's a business. But for everybody around the program, what's been the thought process about having to come in here and play a game? Because I know when it's the reverse and Penn State goes out to Autzen, you're going to have fans coming out the woodwork that want to go to it because it's special.
Going to Penn State for a whiteout is special. Most of us have split feelings. I'll just tell you about myself. I'm excited to go to Penn State and experience a whiteout. That tradition that we've heard so much about, seen on TV, to experience that is going to be special. I mean, those are things in your career you can say, yeah, I went to Penn State. I was there for a whiteout. We won the game or we got our butts kicked. Doesn't make a difference. It was an experience. The other part of me is, damn, it's not going to be easy. This is It's a big game, two good teams. How is that crowd going to affect this game for Oregon? So a lot of question marks, but excitement at the same time.
I talked about the quarterback, Dante Moore, and, of course, Moore and Benson and Bryant and the running backs. I know Lamar has had back-to-back terrific games, and I expect the other kid who played so well in the Big Ten championship game to be back. But Will Stein steps in. What has he meant, and why does he call the game from the sideline? Some coordinators like to be up top, some are on the sideline. Why does Will want to be on the sideline?
He wants to be in the action. I think we asked him that early in the season, and he said, I just want to be there where I can physically, be just a few yards from the game and communicate person to person with my quarterback. He likes that, calls it kind of more of a hands-on. But he is, gosh, how can I explain this? He came in and decided that he wasn't going to change the offense. A little bit of a terminology maybe, but he said, I wanted to more adapt to what the kids were doing rather than me try to make them change my terminology. He said there's nothing really that new in offense. Everybody's running a lot of the same thing. We steal from everybody. We a little twist here and there. But it's the communication part of it that he wanted. So he wanted to come in and fit right away, and that's what he was able to do. He was able to come in and be a part of the offense as it was with his additional little twist and things that he wanted to do.
See, when I watch him call a game, I think he has a great feel, this is just me speaking, of sequencing. I think he understands how to sequence plays, and I also think that he sequences plays in such a way where he's thinking about later in the game as well. Am I being fair here?
No, I think so. I think to me, all great coordinators offensively certainly have to look ahead and think ahead of what they're going to do. I mean, they've got the game sheet of what they're going to do the first, 10 or 12, 15 plays, and then they'll, vary off of that. But you have to be thinking ahead and analyzing what you're going to use, the target or the personnel. I mean, Oregon's got 4 running backs that are rotating on a somewhat regular basis. They've got a handful of wide receivers. So, he's looking at this position, this situation, third and long, second and short. Who can I use? Who works best in this scenario? Coaches have an analytical mind that I just don't get. I mean, Dan Lanning's unbelievable. He'll look at a dozen plays and then sit back and tell you exactly who blocked who on that play and where it ended up. And Will Stein's a lot like that. So I think that some people just have that kind of, they're just wired differently. Some great offensive coordinators are wired differently.
No question. They all are. I mean, defensive coordinators are wired differently, and that includes, when Dan was at Georgia. What has it been like? You've worked with a lot of terrific coaches over the years. What's it been like working with Dan Lanning?
Different. He just is. I told one day a couple of years ago, I said, hey, you have a photographic memory. That must help so much. He said, no, I don't have photographic memory. That's not true. I said, Dan, you remember everything. You see everything. It's a little like, I've seen head coaches before stand behind the offense in practice and watch and see, a gap not open, a missed block, or a running back didn't make the right cut. He'll see that, but he also sees the other 10 guys or 9 guys and what they were supposed to do all at the same time. His field of vision is surprising. So you'll see him in practice after a play go up and talk to 3 or 4 different guys on either side of the line or receiver and tell him what he should have done or how it would look different if he had done this. He just sees the play differently, and he is a motivator. I mean, you've probably seen some of the locker room speeches that he gives. He is a motivator.
Jerry, if I've got this right, this is with your 36th season. Is that correct?
Actually, we argue about that here. I thought it was 38, and Joy Mack added it all up and said, no, this is your 39th. They said, no, it can't be. But, so it's either 38 or 39, one of those two.
All right, so now let's go back to the beginning. When you think about where the program was when you started this between 35 and 40 years ago, let's just keep it in that range, okay?
Okay.
All right. When you think about where this was as a program, and then what you've experienced over the years, the runs to title games and things like that, what has this been like? And did you ever dream that you'd see Oregon football year in and year out? And this has now been something that's gone on for decades, but year in and year out being the position they're in.
Didn't see it coming. I mean, I got here in '87, and the Ducks were, for that first few years, were like, can we get to 6 wins? Can we get bowl eligible? That was huge. We got to the Independence Bowl, then the Freedom Bowl, then the Independence Bowl, getting bowl eligible. And somehow they got, in '94 season, they won the Pac-10 at that time and got to the Rose Bowl and played, oddly enough, Penn State and Kajana Carter. And we got to that Rose Bowl, and my game analyst, Mike Jorgensen, who played for the Ducks, we looked at each other at the Rose Bowl and said, it doesn't get any better than this. This is the top for us. This is the pinnacle. Well, damn, we didn't know Oregon was going to continue to climb and get to where they are, and it's been fun. It's been just a little. It's gone too fast, but it has been just a continual climb with very, very few dips. And you got to give credit where it's due, and that is Phil, Penny, Knight, and what they've infused into this program for facilities, and now NIL is up. And so they've been able to, if not keep up with, but take a lead in some of the big-time programs, the Oklahomas, the Penn States, the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Floridas. We used to look up at them and go, gosh, what is that like? Well, now we kind of feel what it's like, but it's hard to believe how quickly we've gotten here.
It's amazing. Yeah, I remember Danny O'Neill, because I was there that day. Danny O'Neill had a great game that day in that Rose Bowl against Penn State. He was unbelievably good. Like, wow. I was impressed.
Funny, too. I mean, he's at 5'10", probably 185 pounds soaking wet. He was the MVP offensive player that game, and he wasn't going to go play at the next level. He wasn't big enough. He wasn't strong enough, but he found a way that day to play a really good football game.
Jerry, I'm really looking forward to seeing you again. Haven't seen you since Indianapolis last year in the Big Ten championship game, and should be a lot of fun on Saturday night for everybody involved. You and I both love big games. This will be one of them.
I can't wait for it. This is what you do, why you do, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again. We'll see you soon.
My friend, thanks so much, Jerry. Thank you. The great Jerry Allen, legendary voice of Oregon football. We will come back more in a moment. This half hour brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.